Great turnout. This is fabulous for 8 o'clock on a Friday morning. Not too bad. We're glad to have everyone here, and we're especially glad to have our legislators. I know we have Senator Murdoch and Representative Newton, and I noticed somebody else kind of creeped in the crowd too, Senator Peterson, so we're glad to have all three of you. If I'm smiling, that's because we got some new money this year. So thank you to the legislators. That is such a, actually has become somewhat unusual to be in that situation. So we're very pleased that we were able to, the state is doing pretty well and we were able to benefit from that. As you can see, we're done, at least at the moment, with social distancing and masking. So that is a great thing. It kind of seems like a bad nightmare, like a bad dream, and you think, God, did we really go through that and wearing the mask every day? And oh my. But the day after the spring semester is when we relaxed our policy. Northwestern was fortunate to be able to really probably have a more normal set of semesters than most institutions across the state. And I think that kudos go to our staff, our faculty, and our students for really complying with everything that we asked them to do, and that it ended up being a fairly safe environment. And the students, students that we're recruiting right now ask us, I have to do virtual classes and so on. And we've told them, we're going to be as close to normal as we can possibly be. Students like online classes sometimes when they want to do it, but they don't want to be told they have to do it. They like that face-to-face interaction. So we are, people always ask me sometimes, not as much as they used to, but well, will you get a break this summer? Well, sometimes summer ends up being the busiest time for us, and so far we've already had, I think, 2 women's basketball camps. We had a big baseball camp this last week from kids coming in from all over. We have 260 STUCO, Basic Student Council Leadership Camp on campus this week. We have another one in July. We have Upward Bound students, about 60, 50, somewhere in that range on campus. So, many years ago, the campus was pretty shut down in the summer. The dorms, nothing was happening there, nothing was happening with food service. But we've really tried to make a change with that because these are great facilities and we need to have them in use all year round. That just makes sense to our community. We're hoping all of those people that we're bringing in, buy a tank of gas or stop at the local restaurant or maybe run downtown and grab something to help the economy here. And I think they do. I think that absolutely does happen. So we are so, as I said, so happy to have you here, and I'll turn it back to Jody to go through the rest of the program, but thank you for being here.
Well, good morning. It's so great to have us back together with our community coffees. Don't have much to say, so if you guys just want to kick it off, whichever one wants to talk first, come on up.
I guess I drew the short straw and got to go first. Usually Carl won't let me go first because he says he doesn't have enough time to talk when I get done. This year was, with all the difficulties, was a very good year. My first 3 or 4 years, it was horrible. Holes in the budget from $600 million hole to $1.3 million hole. That's why this was the best year, because we was actually able to replace a lot of the cuts that we made during those tough times. So I think higher ed was, Regions for Higher Education, their increase was 5.5%. They went from $770 million to $812 million that we was able to give to higher ed. Across the board, we fully funded 1017. We got $60 million for new science textbooks for education. It was, the fight still happened, but they were different. You know, my first 3 years, we were fighting over, well, don't cut this, don't cut that. This year we fought over, well, let's send money here, let's send money there. There's still fights. It's just we're fighting over cuts or we're fighting over where we're going to send the money. And this year was a lot better, but we have to be careful. One reason we had such a great budget year is we had CARES money coming into the state, COVID money from the federal government. Now that's one-time money. We could not spend it on reoccurring expenses. So I think we did a very good job of protecting that money. We saved around $1 billion in our savings accounts. So we're going to be prepared for the next crisis. But with that, we were able to get more money back to our agencies that has been, as you well know, just struggling to get by because just things were so tough for several years. County roads and bridges got more money. The M&O funds for the counties got more money. So what we did with that, we did it, the formula was population based. We changed that to county area and how many roads you have. There's a couple counties, Oklahoma County, Cleveland County, that's Oklahoma City, and Norman. And I think Cleveland County has 1 mile of county road. So do they need all the M&O money that county's getting, or does Woods County need it that has thousands of miles of county roads? So we changed that formula up. That bill actually surprised me. I thought we would have more pushback from the urban legislators on that. And Chuck Hall ran that bill, Senator Hall. I don't think he got one question. So that was surprising. Early on in session, OSU came to me and asked if I'd help them get more money for their veterinary medicine school. They were wanting $4 million, and we were able to get them $3 million extra. That's for scholarships for large animal vets. There's a shortage of large animal vets, shortage of kids going into that side. A lot of them are going to the small animals. Easier to handle, more money, better hours. You're not taking that heifer that's having a problem in at 3 o'clock in the morning in a snowstorm to the vet to come in and do a C-section. So, you know, the small animals, veterinary medicine is just more attractive to people to go into. But so we were able to do that. They're able to do a lot with that money. Ran that through the Department of Ag, and I was visited with the Secretary of Ag this past week. They had another scholarship for large animal veterinaries, and so she's going to merge those, so that should even make it even better. Yeah, it's Carl. This is why you make all the money, because there's people in the world going blind. And I may need to see these glasses aren't working. These are awful small numbers.
You're looking for it.
One thing that affects my Senate district is REAP grants. And REAP grants is what cities get to do their city projects. You know, their water projects, their sidewalks, their streets, you know, just whatever the city's needs. And this has been under attack since in those bad years of doing away with the REAP grant. Well, what the REAP grant is, it is 1% of sales tax in the state of Oklahoma is supposed to be put in this REAP grant. And what it is where does Oklahomans do most of their shopping? They go to Oklahoma City or Tulsa. They go to the big box stores. They go to Oklahoma City for entertainment. So we did this REAP to make up for the sales tax lost in rural Oklahoma, so that these cities can do these bigger projects. So we were able to give more money and protect the REAP program for the city. So that was a big win, especially a few years ago. They were wanting to cut it out altogether. So that was a big win this year. With that, I'm going to talk about a few bills that I've ran.
But you're gonna quit,
No, you're not getting off that easy.
Can I add something on that REAP grant?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Come into my time.
They got it up to
Anytime,
50
Carl. Come on in.
They got it up to 54.5 million, something like that. And that way, right now, the REAP grant is divided 9 different ways. And the metro areas have to divide one share, and then the other 8 go out to the rural areas. If we increased it any more, then the metro areas would get a full share. And so that's why they moved it up to a certain point and held it there, so we could keep more of the money into the rural areas instead of the metro areas. Sorry, I just wanted to add that.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you all remember, a few years ago I talked about filing 60 bills and how dumb that was, unmanageable. This year I only filed 30 bills. Out of those 30, I got 18 signed by the governor. Probably the bill that I was tied to emotionally, and it was the hardest bill that I've ran, was SB 310, and that was youthful offenders. I had a constituent that came to me, 16-year-old girl that was raped and by her boyfriend, horribly raped. And she came to me and brought up the Youthful Offender Act, and that her attacker basically got a slap on the wrist. And it was not right, because she's going to have to deal with that the rest of her life. She is going to suffer with that the rest of her life. And the attacker basically got off scot-free. And then it was just a bad situation. So was able to get that through and passed and signed by the governor. But during that time, her and her mother was at the Capitol for every committee hearing, for the floor work in the Senate, committee work in the House, and then the floor work in the House. And I saw that girl grow and come out of her shell. That first meeting I had with her, she was timid, she was scared. She wouldn't even stand next to me for a picture, scared to death. She came out of that shell. As far as for therapy for her, I think that was very good. But I had told her when we started this process, I said, this is not going to help your situation. And she goes, I know that. She goes, I just don't want another girl like me to have to go through what I had to go through. That girl was a very, very strong girl. She's going to be all right. She is very strong, and to do what she did took a lot of guts to come out and say, I want to change how the state, how the laws are to protect girls like me. And I can't say enough good words about that young lady. I did get a gun bill passed, so you can carry a long rifle in your vehicle, chambered. That is legal now. We left that out. I joke around because at home when I'm checking cows, I have a long rifle in my pickup ready to go just in case. And I joke around, I'm just trying to keep my constituents legal, because I know probably every rancher out there carries one ready to go. So I'm just trying to keep my constituents legal. But that passed, and what happened there when we did constitutional carry through wording in a bill, how the bill was worded, we left out long guns. So we got that passed. Another thing that probably would be interesting, so Woodward county commissioner came to me, and they have the event center in Woodward. They were having a hard time keeping a manager for that event center. Private sector would come in and hire them away from them, offer them more money. In statute, you cannot pay a county employee more than what an elected county official makes. Well, this event center is a multi-million-dollar center, and they couldn't pay them that much, because we all know elected officials don't make that much. And they just kept losing managers. They'd get a manager in there doing a great job, private sector come in and offer him a job, and he'd be gone. And so we were able to work with OMES. They have a pay schedule for professionals. So we were able to change that law where a county can pay more for a position than an elected official will make.
Does your house help on that?
I think it's probably you. So Carl and I we worked a lot together. We work well together. Carl and I, we work a lot together. So yeah, I'm going down through here. Most of my house authors is Carl. So the bills I'm talking about, I'm probably stealing his thunder because he's going to talk about them too. One other one is, as you guys are probably aware, these grow facilities are popping up everywhere. There's a lot of foreigners building these grows, and it is skeptical on whether they're legal or not, doing things right or not, or whether they're just out there just putting them up. So Josh West and I ran a bill. Sorry,
That's right.
this one bill I didn't have with Carl. Ran a bill that you have to sign an affidavit attesting to whether you have foreign investment into in your medical marijuana business. You have 60 days to sign that. If you don't sign this affidavit, you lose your license. Then you have 180 days to prove that you actually have a business, that you're actually building a business. So what these criminal organizations are doing, they go out and they buy 100 licenses. As soon as they start getting investigated on this license, they just drop it and move to the next license, and just keep rolling through these licenses. So this bill also will, if there's an inactive license, if someone's just stockpiling license, you have to show that you're building a business and you're actually trying to make a go of it. And if not, you're going to lose the license. Is that it? That was your deal. I'll let you talk about that one. We do not have any high fence game areas out here, do we? Private that raises deer, or do we?
We used to have golf courses. We still do.
So towards the end of
facility.
towards the end of session, one of these facilities came to me, and they had lost quite a few baby deer to coyotes, and I don't know how many. They said $27,000 worth in one night. And so I had a bill kind of sitting there, not going anywhere. I stripped the language out of it and put in where they could use the state trapper to put cyanide traps out for these coyotes from April to October. And so it's just for high fence ranches, but that should help the coyote problem, because I don't have a problem killing coyotes. I think they are doing quite well. I know I feed them quite well. With that, I'm going to kind of slow up. Let me just go over this one more time, make sure I didn't forget any big stuff. we defined Oklahoma certified beef. We ran that bill last year to designate where if you're a beef producer, you can label it Oklahoma certified beef. But we came back in and put some guidelines in to what is Oklahoma certified beef. So this is just going to give beef producers another option to market their beef and put a label on and say this is Oklahoma beef. And so it's what I just try to give everyone as much of an opportunity to add value to their product as I can. But I'm gonna wrap it up and let Carl talk. I do want to say one thing. This was a very good year, and a lot of it was because of the COVID money. But I just want to say one thing. We have to be careful of that COVID money. It's not going to. I think 2023 is when we are going to run through the COVID money, when we have to have it all spent. So 2024 budget, it may shrink back down. So we've got to take care of this COVID money and spend it wisely so that our budget's not bad in 24. But I just want to say one thing. Every decision I make down there, as far as budgets and taxes, is I don't look at it as state money. This is y'all's money. This is your taxpayer money. And that's always on my mind whenever I'm making a decision on any law or any bill, is that this money we're spending is y'all's money. So I just wanted to close with that. The great Representative Newton.
Yeah. Where is he?
You are recognized.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. By the way, it is an honor to represent you at the Capitol. I take that seriously, and it is definitely an honor to be there. In fact, one of the bills I want to mention, since Senator Peterson's here, it's his bill that we did a mirror bill. Both ran one House bill, one Senate bill, and you always take the one that gets through first, and the governor can sign it. And his Senate Bill 335, we changed the cemetery laws. I think Representative Hickman worked on that. It's been what? How many years? Years ago we finally got it done. And an abandoned lot, that may not seem like that much, but for these small cemeteries that are landlocked, an abandoned plot, whatever you want to call them, that's just been left there for 75 years with no notification to the cemetery board or anything like that. They can't find them or anything like that. They go through a process, notification just same as they would as a lost person, all that kind of stuff. And if they can't do that, then they got a year to come back and they can reclaim that. The cemetery can reclaim it and you reuse those lots, those plots. And so it helps in those situations. Now you're talking 75 years. Well, that's 1940. I mean, if nobody's made contact with cemetery since 1940, it's been a while. So anyway, and just that was one of the things we brought up. Just to run that, one of the things we redid is redistricting, and our rural areas all grew. I just stepped back there to ask Senator Peterson. His expanded 80 square miles. Mine, I was 3,572 square miles. Now I'm up to 3,997 square miles, almost 4,000. So our Senator Murdoch here has the distinction of now having covered over 1/4 of the state in land mass in his Senate district. So he's going to have to get a new truck about every year probably to keep covering all that area. But yeah, he was 23% and he went up over 25%. So the rural areas are getting bigger. The one thing, I was the Northwest District for the House covering Northwest Oklahoma. I was able to keep all the rural districts intact. You may say, well, what does that mean, anything? Well, if you want your voice to count as far as rural America, you need all these rural legislators. And so that's one of the things we tried to make sure we did, is keep them intact best we could. And so that's part of the redistricting, is one of the major things. We are still going to be back in special session in October. The House and the State House and Senate, we think we're done with those unless the numbers from the 2020 census is way off, then we may have to go back. But we do have to go back and do the congressionals. The congressional seats have to be down to the individual person. I didn't know that, but that's what they said. It goes down to, I mean, it's within 0.001%. And so we have to wait on the final numbers, which because of COVID, the census numbers are held back. And so I think they're coming out next month, or I think July or August, and then we're going to go back in October and confirm those numbers and work on that. So that's what we're doing there. He covered the marijuana. We did do some things on state rights. One of the things we did is to make sure that these executive orders that are coming down, if they contradict our state laws, we gave the Attorney General power to evaluate those, and also gave him additional money to fight those if we need to protect your rights out here as far as citizens of the state of Oklahoma. I'm trying to pick up where he did. Okay, everything that affects you guys, and I talked about this at the Kiwanis Club the other day, we did fully fund your transportation. Last year we took $180 million out of there. Their cap right now is $575 million. We are going to increase that to $590 million. We're trying to make better roads in the state of Oklahoma, okay? I mean, I would love to drive from Texas into Oklahoma and go onto a better road. You know what I mean? And so we're working on that. In the last few years, we have been concentrating totally on bridges because we had over 1,300 dilapidated or didn't meet qualification bridges, and so we had to redo those first. Because like I tell people, you can go from, I'm trying to give an example of a good bridge. From here to Bowes Junction, you can go if the road's really crappy, right? But you can't go if the Cimarron River Bridge is out. You can do it. And so that's why bridges were our number one emphasis. We've kind of got that caught up. And so now we're going to move on repaving and resurfacing. And in fact, one of the things we did approve that the Department of Transportation could take out a bond issue up to, give you the exact numbers, $200 million. Okay? This $200 million is to be emphasized on 2-lane roads. Okay? 2-lane roads is what rural America is, or rural Oklahoma is 2-lane roads. And so we are going to emphasize that this would be, if you have a bad road, let me know. Okay? It's got to be a state road. Okay? Now the federal's also kicking in some money for some of these U.S. highways. I don't know how many of you guys been towards Fairview on 412 over there. They just did a resurface over there again right by Glossy Mountain State Park. And I was calling and saying, why is this, the road isn't that bad? You know, he said, well, that's part of the federal money. They're allowing them to do some resurfacing and try to keep things from falling apart, which is great. And so, but the $200 million is just for 2-lane roads and then deficient bridges. Okay, so with that, either one of those. Now, I was going to say about that. Oh, you said, why do we want our state to be bonding money? Why do we want to be borrowing money? Well, the interest rate on this money right here that we're talking about, because of the special time, 1.1%. Now, how many of you guys would not mind borrowing money at 1.1%? Not bad. And so we think we're not going to get hurt. We also gave the Department of Transportation, increased their bonding their payback on their bonds, increased it by quite a little bit. So we're not putting you guys in debt as far as citizens of the state, because we just want to make things a little bit better there, because that really affects all of us. Okay, one of the things we did do some election changes. The elections on major statewide national elections, the polling places will be open on Wednesday now, because we did have a little turmoil there, so they'll be opening them on Wednesday. and they're doing some changes on that. Also, we had a state question recently that came up that was very, 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 very close, 802, right? Did you know that you cannot do a recount on a state question? And so we are going to now allow them to do a recount if there is concern about a state question. Also, on state questions, if it has a fiscal impact on the state, on the citizens, taxpayers, that is going to have to be on the ballot so that you know what's going to cost you, okay? Now, to go away from that, I'm going to go step away from some of the legislation. Some of the things you guys recently heard is on the Medicaid expansion, right? Governor had privatized, we're going to use privatized companies and all that, and the Supreme Court overturned his ability to do that. So the Healthcare Authority was already going to take it over to begin with, and so we're going to be working on that to implement and see which way the legislature gets to have a say in that. We were trying to have a say in it. I think it was 313, Senate Bill 131. I got my dyslexia. Okay, yeah, Senate Bill 131 kicked. We had one in there to put it under their authority. In fact, we had a plan over a year ago, pre-COVID, to do this. The governor says, all right. You know, he was all for it, and then all of a sudden it got killed and vetoed at the last minute, and then the privatization came in. And I'm saying we, I know the House, the majority of the House this year, feels like we can take that and make it run more efficiently and take care of it in-house rather than shipping it out. I know as an optometrist, I had 4 medical contracts that I was having to sign, and then 4 vision contracts. And so we just want to make it, you know, your Department of Health right now manages the tougher part of Medicaid, which is the indigents, handicap, and all that, at 5% overhead administration, which is pretty good. And so we would like to keep that administrative cost and make sure the money's going out to help the people that are in need. So with that, I'm going to shut it off and see. Yes.
What's your plans for next year? Do you have any interim studies that you're going to be working on?
Oh, interim studies I'm going to be working on. Yes. With the good senator over here, we're going to work on a drift study on allowing our farmers to make sure they can spray their crops and stuff like that. Recently, with the marijuana houses popping up everywhere, you know, we've heard stories. I've never seen one, but I've heard stories that, you know, there's guys sitting out there with an AK-47 outside their grow house saying, you can't spray, you know. And so we're wanting to protect our farmers there. I'm also going to do one on, right now, we have a lot of problems with pipelines and wind companies protesting their money, their taxes to the counties and stuff like that, which affects your county commissioners on what their budget is, and then also in your schools, the funding on how they receive their money. They say, well, you're going to get this money from this tax ad valorem off this wind generator, so we're going to cut the amount of money you're going to get. Well, then they put it in protest, and it holds it off for 2 years, so that school's out there hung out to dry, kind of. So try to figure out a process that's good for the company. Still, I don't want to hurt the company, but still fair for the schools and the county. So that's another one. And what's the other one we was talking about?
Ag sales tax.
Yeah, we'll look at the ag sales tax. We did pass some changes on the ag sales tax, but we're going to look at that a little bit more and see if there's anything we need to refine that to make sure that the true farmers are getting the benefit and make sure it's done appropriately. Right now, the tax commission came in and said, if you're a farmer, to get a sales tax exemption, you got to go to be a Schedule F. Well, not all farmers are straight farmers. Some of them are in LLCs, all corporations, and so they don't necessarily have a Schedule F. So that knocks them out. So we're just trying to make it fair, but yet still do appropriate taxation. So, Senator Peterson, is there anything you wanted to add?
Well, sure. I never miss the opportunity to say something when I have a chance. I just kind of wanted to slip over here today. I feel like I live almost, I'm close to you all enough to where when I come to Alva, I get a lot of questions from people. And so anyway, I just felt like I needed to come over. And of course, I always love coming back to the university where I spent probably 4 of the best years of my life here, way back. So anyway. Why would you say?
Some spend longer.
Yeah, right. Back in my day, you spent 4 years before you got to see Uncle Sam. And spend about 4 years with him, at least. Anyway, appreciate the opportunity to be here. I just I'll brag on the university first. Dr. Cunningham, I think this is what you have at like Northwestern, when you have a farm girl running a university. Just common sense things and so much success here. Just thank you for what you do, and you are a shining light to the rest of the universities, I would say. I wanted to point out 2 or 3 things. I came over also here this morning to get away from greasing my combine, Max. We're right in the middle of wheat harvest, and we are actually right in the middle of it. So I got one place that Skeeter's cut last night for the foundation, so we're moving forward with that. But anyway, one of the things that I was challenged with when I was first elected was this endowed chair money that the communities put all this money up, and then it's set at the state level and we quit funding for matching that money. And this year, I just talked to Roger Thompson. He assured me that the money is coming. So I think that part is taken care of, at least one of the things. Carl mentioned the cemetery bill, and Carl and I resurrected that cemetery bill from Representative Hickman, because you wouldn't believe what simple things that seem to be very simple to be done takes a long time to do it down there. And anyway, when Carl and I, we finally got that deal done. We had it done last year, and then COVID hit, and we had to start all over again. So the concurrent enrollment money was fully funded this year. That's a big plus for the universities. National Guard money is fully funded this year too. And anyway, that's 2 or 3 of the things here that I had written down that I wanted to emphasize. I know there was some engineering degree funding that'll at some of the universities that'll help engineering degrees. We're way behind on engineering degrees, and that'll help with that. And also, I talked to Roger a little bit also yesterday on the CARES money, and I think there's like $1.9 million there for that'll be one-time money that you'll be able to use it here at the universities, and the legislature is going to be somewhat involved in distributing that money. It's not going to be all executive, I don't think, anymore, because there's a little bit of a problem on that. So anyway.
You're talking about the Restoring America plan?
Yes.
Restoring America plan?
Yeah.
There's 12 senators and 12 representatives on the committee. I think Senator Murdoch's on there. I didn't make the list. I called the speaker right after he had published it, so I didn't on, but the governor said he wanted me on there, so because I've been talking to him about some prison out west here, and which is a really sad situation. But anyway, I'm also, my number one thought on this money, there needs to be a road from Avard, good paved road from Avard to 281. Since we have a facility out there, I think that would be a great thing. That's one of my number one things that I will be pushing, and I haven't even got a chance to talk to these guys about it, but yeah, I think that needs to happen. That's just, you talk about restoring America, we need to be able to ship things out, move things around, and I think that'd be a great place to start. So, sorry.
That's fine. Just one more point on the redistricting. I did pick up about 80 square miles on the east side of my district, I would love to come over here to Alva, because I'm only 20 miles away from here. But we're not involved in that. I mean, we're not the legislature. This is the people's redistricting is up to the way the people want to do it. And Senator Murdoch does a good job representing you all. And but just being so close, why it'd be nice to, be over here and have both parts of my university. But I do represent Urine campus, so. But one thing that some of that CARES money there, I've always been fascinated by trains. So Amtrak has got the Southern Flyer, which goes from Oklahoma City down to Fort Worth. And so Representative Luttrell and I, along with about, there's 10 or 12 other senators and representatives, we're going to try to extend that to call it the Northern Flyer, and go up to Newton and meet that Southwest chief maybe. And right now there's a bus that transfers people back and forth. But that's one of the projects that maybe if President Biden wants to give some of this money, we can put it to good use here in Oklahoma. So I'm going to be involved in that, possibly even an exploratory train here in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe we'll run that route to see what happens. So anyway, I'll leave the questions for you guys.
Thanks.
I'm going to head back out and try to get my combines going.
Okay. Thanks for being here.
Gentlemen, I have a question since you're there, and I appreciate So the endowed chair program, does anybody know the percentage of endowed chairs that this university owns in comparison to the other universities in the state?
It's the largest in the state.
It's like 80.
What'd you say?
It's the largest in the state.
So if we're the largest, does that mean that we're going to get the most money out of all those endowed chairs?
Well, you would think.
And does that mean that our communities give more to our universities than other universities? And if that's true, how in the world can we be taking 120 to 30 jobs out of our community that gives back to its community by closing a prison?
I agree with you 100%.
And how in the world can we figure out how to do something with that facility as opposed to just lose those jobs? Hey, I appreciate what you guys are doing, but those jobs are so vitally important in Northwest Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
The only way that we are going to keep you three and not change the districting to make us even smaller is to try to figure out how to put jobs back in the community. I'm not yelling, I'm just passionate about trying to figure out what we need to do.
You make an excellent point, Todd, with that facility out there. The Greer campus down there is sitting there growing up in weeds. And the state, it's a state property. And that's going to end up, it's going to be just like that out there. We have got to get to work. You've got to send some letters, you got to do something.
On the facility out there, 2 years ago, we staved off the shutdown then by having letters by the community and all that. And we thought we'd held it off for a little longer, and then this thing came down. I mean, we heard about Tuesday.
Yeah. It was quick.
It was a done deal. It was.
There's people in Buffalo that call the governor's office, and the governor's office, that the people that answer the phone didn't even know what was going on. This is how fast this went down, and I think it came down fast because we did stave it off 2 years ago, and they didn't want to give us time to stop it.
So the tragedy is, I don't think it goes without question, we have one of the finest DOC facilities in the state of Oklahoma located within your districts, right?
Yeah.
You're Senator Fenderson. And now we're closing that, and that's going to inhibit that facility from doing the very best job, Gordon, am I correct, that they can do, because they're going to have to be taking inmates that don't fit their needs. I'm concerned.
If I could echo, I've been out of the system for a while, I'm a retired DOC, and, over the history, these things happen, and there's a lot of history behind how the Department of Corrections gets saddled with these old facilities, even initially. But there are so many more options than the closure, and I am equally offended that the communities, and I can say this now, that the department wasn't more transparent in involving the community in looking for options that might not be as damaging to Northwest Oklahoma. The reality is, you know the layout, the majority of facilities are on the east side of the state already. And so those jobs and how that affects our population, we already fight an uphill battle keeping those kinds of industries, and it is, on our side of the state. So I would hope that even though they say it's a done deal, I mean, there are done deals and there are some not so done deals. And some of those done deals, as we know, can get changed if people will get behind and say, look, let's slow this down, let's see what we can do. That may be the best that we can do, is to continue that slowdown until we go in and see, can we? I think that is a money pit. It always has been. Both of those buildings, much like Norse, and we are saddled already still with Source, right? We got Halls Valley, could do nothing with that because there was no funding to open it. And as I understand, we have a K-9 program on that huge campus and ag. But all those buildings are going into it. So as a state, that's not a Department of Corrections issue. There needs to be better solutions for, closing down facilities that we don't need. But one of the options, metal buildings, I know construction's high right now, but what if, they knock out some of those buildings and go in with more efficient metal buildings. We've got models, we've got architectural plans already paid for in the Department of Corrections. We just resurrect them and pay it. We have these options that could phase out some of that, the costly part of those facilities, and create a different facility. It may not be for corrections, it might be for something else, but just to say we're closing it down. So I'm a little irked at our agency for not offering the community. And we, even though we say, well, this isn't affecting Alva, it is going to affect Alva and Northwest Oklahoma.
It's going to affect all of Northwest
We should
Oklahoma.
partner with Woodward and help try to see if we can slow this down or get some attention on other solutions.
So, and Carl and I have just been tag teaming this fight as best as we can for the little time. So he talked to the governor the other night. I've been working with the AB chair in the Senate. The AB chair in the Senate is hot over this issue. Director Crow was in his office the day before. So, well, yeah, we're thinking about it, but I'll bring you a plan before we do anything. The next morning, the press release comes out. He basically misled the AD chair in the Senate. Roger Thompson's mad. He's calling for them to slow this back, pull this decision back, and let's look at it, because they did not bring in the legislature in this decision.
We even gave funding for...
And we gave extra money this year for the repairs out there.
And I guess again, I'm on my rant, but offends me is that we have brilliant people in this state. We have brilliant people in Northwest Oklahoma that would partner and have a history of partnering with the Department of Corrections. And I think it's not about, we don't want you to have the authority to do what you need to do to make the best decisions for the Department of Corrections. But why can't you involve, there could be some better ideas.
Well, 2 years ago, we looked at that and gave that to DLC as an option as far as Woodward and the surrounding communities partnering, helping fix this up.
I mean, we even said, do we need to build a building? Like you said, a metal building that would add a new housing facility, new structural facility to help move this. I said, we think we can get the people of the county and the area to help contribute and build this. And
Why wouldn't some CARES money be available for an option like that? Because, in case there's another pandemic, to not have them put into another facility, but to be able to distance them. I think that's a great idea.
I'm on that committee for that. That's one thing I'm going to be pushing. We can
Excellent.
divert some of this. What did you say the total was? 1.9 billion in the recovery?
Yeah, 1.6 to 1.9 billion, yeah.
In the recovery, I think we could use some of this money for William S. Key.
What can we do? What would you suggest? I mean, is it letter writing? I mean,
Yes.
I still think you hit the governor. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
That's where
I think
we
the governor's in the number one spot if you're going to send him. I think
He's the one that
governor
can
still-
change this decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I sent a press release out, I think it was yesterday, I don't know if you probably hadn't got it yet, but just calling for everyone up here to write letters. I know 2 years ago, there were people in Boise City writing letters. I think I had everyone in my Senate district writing letters and calling the governor. That's where this decision's gonna get changed, is the governor's office. DOC's already made their decision. I think DOC's been looking at this for a long time. They've been building a case to try to shut it down. So it's the governor that can change this.
So when the governor took office, part of his plan was to dissolve the local boards and agencies, Department of Health, Department of Corrections, those, and bring those back in under the governor's footprint and thumbprint so that he could have better control of what was actually happening in those departments.
Yeah. And in fact, he's tried to get more agency heads as of the time. Let me go on. He got appointment over more of the boards. I think the speaker gets 2, the pro tem gets 2, and the governor gets the other ones on there. And if you guys will notice, Todd was on that board, okay? And right now, there are 5 people from Tulsa and 1 person from Shawnee and the other from the metro area in Oklahoma City.
They're all urban. They're all urban.
They're all urban. I
And
mean,
rural Oklahoma elected Governor Stitt. I mean, he was a rural candidate for.
Well, we
we
better
went-
help our friends in Woodward and Fort Supply. And
yeah.
So with Todd, I pulled every string I could get you back on it. I called the speaker, tried to, because the pro tem had already used up his spots, and so I called the speaker trying to get you back on there. After that, I worked real hard in every board appointment that I could put someone from rural Oklahoma on a board. I tried, especially from northwest Oklahoma.
Well, I don't know if he wants me to say this, but Senator Murdoch took all the House bills that came over that gave the governor more appointment for different authorities. He became the co-author on the Senate side, and they never got heard. So I think that was a really wise move because, I mean, right now we're seeing the ramifications of him having that power. I didn't want him to have the power of the DOC because I was afraid of this kind of stuff because I could see that we need to have input too. We need to have the agency that be able to, so anyway.
I certainly don't want to come off as being negative Nancy on this deal, but we got to figure out, like Dr. Cunningham said, what do we need to do? How can we help? How can we change the direction? Maybe we can't stop this, but we certainly don't want to lose more jobs in rural America, whether it's northwest or southeast. Right? By the way, southeastern Oklahoma has more DOC facilities than any place else.
So I know there's rumors running out there. Bill Johnson and Crabtree are not on a list to be shut down. Okay, I've talked to both Department of Corrections head and all that. I mean, Bill Johnson is their shining star for the Department of Corrections. It is. It's the best facility to get people in and back out on the streets, back with their home, back in their families, being productive citizens. So you got the greatest facility in the state right here. Okay? Just so you know. And so they know it too. And they also know that Crabtree is a good facility. They have built some new housing units there. So we're going to make sure that stays there too because, yeah, it needs to. It's the most efficiently run prison in the state. It's Crabtree.
And who was number 2?
William S. Keys.
Well, and the people up here, our work ethic is better. You can't find better people, and those guards and the employees at William S. Key, and just in their work ethic, they were loyal. They showed up to work. You can't beat the workforce that we have in northwest Oklahoma, and to shut it down and move these jobs out of here is not a smart management decision in my mind.
Those jobs are generational too. I mean, there's several families down through the years have worked there, so they know what they're getting into when they sign up for those kind of jobs, and that's, can't beat that.
Susan Winchester is the governor's new appointed head of this reorganization of these boards and commissions. She is also a regent for the Russo system. She is our friend. And I think working through her as well will be a great asset. She's a Chickasha girl, she's a farm girl. She is excellent, former legislator. So we just need to get in her ear and let her know that she cares a lot about us out here. So I encourage people to include her in your letter writing.
Yeah.
And she is just she's a newly appointed person for that position. So I think she'll help us.
She will, and she's sharp, and
Yeah.
she understands rural Oklahoma. She would most definitely help us.
If you're going to write the governor anything, I would point out that, like they said, it's the most efficiently run prison, okay? Number 2, efficiently run prison, so it's well run. You've got loyal employees, which they don't have a lot of turnover, and those employees aren't going to get to go down the street to another job. They're going to have to move. They're going to have to relocate their families and everything like that. And then also that they take care of things. I mean, it's well taken care of. So make those points that this is not something that, and metro people don't say, well, you can just go down the street and get another job. It just doesn't happen out here.
Well, and one of the questions I asked them, well, what are you going to do with the facility, or is it just going to be an eyesore on the side of 412? Someone, and I don't remember, I've talked to so many people that said that they were going to give it to the city. Well, you just stripped 140 jobs away from that city. They're not going to be able to afford to pay somebody to mow the weeds down, let alone take the liability of that facility out there.
Which is 3,200 acres, 5 square miles.
Also, I think you were telling me that it's the only prison that has water rights.
It has its own water rights, so they have their own wells and everything else. So
I know one of my first years in the house, Lexington was having problems with their water and was trying to buy it from the city. I believe that's been in 2015. But that's a big deal, having a prison with their own wells. The asset, that is an asset to the DOC, and that's one of the conversations I had with the Secretary of State. You're throwing away an asset that is going to be needed farther down the road. We just need some investment.
It houses it has the historical side, it has a wonderful career tech as well. You know, a big farm operation and then the mental health, and those have all worked together.
yeah.
To use the state dollar, they share resources, so it is just.
I know that, that William S. Keys helped on the maintenance and on both of those facilities over there, so, yeah, it had an impact there.
Well, I might just, one last thing, another thing, is the governor open? I mean, there have been times when we've taken groups of people down from face to face with the governor. Is he open to having those kind of meetings that we could partner with Woodward and take a delegation? He may not be that kind of a guest, I don't know.
I would say when he came to Woodward last time, they took him out there. They took him out there and toured the facility and tried to impress upon him what was done there. I don't think he'll come back. I know that
Well, if we, a group to go to the capital.
go to the cap. I think it'd be great. What do you think?
It wouldn't hurt.
I mean, what is it? Yeah, like he said, what's it going to hurt? What's it going to hurt?
As I know on Facebook, I was talking with a wash barn that works for Northwest Electric, has been writing letters. She's gotten me a lot of data on DOC, but she had asked about people going down there. I'm like, how many can we get? And maybe that's what we need to do is load up the buses and go down there.
I mean, you're not going to hurt anything. I mean, so. Yeah, and the economy, I mean, I talked to the warden this morning on the way over. He wasn't sure, but he thinks the impact is like $1.4 million. The outlay of the money that they put out.
Now, is that the payroll?
Payroll and stuff.
And we all know in a vibrant economy, that dollar turns over 7 times. So that 1.4 is more like $10 million that's being jerked out of the Northwest Oklahoma's economy. It's not good.
Questions?
I got one more thing on my interim study.
I thought you went to Greece to come.
I thought this was worth waiting for. Okay. Foster parents' rights. Had a constituent that had to give up a foster baby that she'd taken care of and knew that she was going to go back to a bad situation. And right now, the state of Oklahoma doesn't have a lot of foster parent rights. Once you give up that child, you're basically out of the picture. And if you raise enough Cain about it, they make sure you're out of the picture. So we're going to try to do an interim study on that. I haven't got that approved yet, but anyway, if you got any input on that, let me know. Interest.
So I was talking to another aspect to the closure is I think you educate a lot of social workers.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people that graduate Northwest Oklahoma goes to work out there. So that's just another opportunity for your students to have a job when they graduate.
Right. And we have a great partnership with Bill Johnson in providing the behavior modification for the trainees using full-time employees and interns through social work, psychology, and sociology. So, something like that could even be implemented also. So.
Well, I had a coach when I was in junior high that said, you play till the buzzer, you play to the whistle. I haven't heard the whistle blow on this yet. I'm going to fight this until they padlock it up, and I'm not going to stop fighting on this because this is too big a deal for Northwest Oklahoma to just let it fade away.
Agreed.
And I may even add this just from the standpoint of the university and our enrollment, but we serve a large area up here, and when we go out and recruit students, we believe this is the best option for many of our students here in this part of the state. So when we go to Fort Supply, when we go to Woodward, when we go to those surrounding communities, and all these families are now pulled out and go away, that's less students that we have right here in our back door to be able to serve and provide a great education for. So, we've battled a decline in the class sizes here over the last 5 to 6 years. We're starting to see a little bit of an incline. We're seeing communities, homes being bought up. We're seeing a lot of things that are happening that could be a good thing for us. But if this pulls out of it, then that's less students that we have right here, and we have to spend more resources trying to go further away to pull students in, which is much harder to do. So, I think from just our standpoint of the university and what we look at and how we serve families, that is another indirect impact that would happen.
The ripple effect that this is going to have is it's going to go a long way. That it's going to affect a lot of things.
So I'll bring something up. The new Miss Teen Oklahoma, Ella Phillips, is very close with the governor. And she is representing Oklahoma at the national head. So if you want a way to get to the governor quickly, she is supposed to represent all teens in Oklahoma. So I'm happy to provide that contact information to whomever.
And that would be a great idea, and you can have her tie it into Northwestern and opportunities for teens and what it's going to do to Northwestern as far as the young generation moving up. And have her hit him, not figuratively, but hit him with that side of the argument of why we need to keep it open.
What is it? All comes back to education. So again, I'll facilitate that with whomever can help. I think if somebody writes kind of a custom letter and says, hey, feel free to tweak this a little bit, but once we have the template, we could get several hundred letters out the door within a week.
In a week, we need to, because I know Roger Thompson is putting a lot of pressure on them to pull this decision back. I'm trying to get with the governor next Friday. I'm going to drive to Tulsa. I'm going to go bang on his door, actually, and try to get a meeting with him next Friday. But this came down so fast. I mean, I'm still out of breath. I got hit so hard with this Tuesday. I don't know if we have a lot of time. We need to be running 100 mile an hour right now to fight this.
They're saying the end of the year, but I think it's 90 days.
I'd heard September.
All right.
Well,
Questions?
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Jody, anything else?
Does anyone else have anything with your events or businesses that are going on? You guys like to share?
Oh, I do.
Perfect.
We are sponsoring a free shred day at our office. We will have the truck in our parking lot on Tuesday from 11 to 1. So if you have some old tax papers, anything, bring them, shred everything for free. We'll start doing this once a year. We will have a donation bucket. Feel free if you want. There's no pressure to. We just decided anybody that wants to donate, we'll give that to kids and cops. So, there you go.
Good.
That's nice.
Jody, I'll mention a couple things. I'm Haley Reagan with REI Oklahoma. We have a couple programs right now. We're headquartered in the southeast portion of the state, but I work here in Alva. And we have a program where we received some funding for anyone who needed to make changes, started their business, maybe changed their business avenue resultant of COVID-19. And those funds are only for rural communities. We have Woods County and Woodward County, specifically here in northwest Oklahoma. And then we also have a microloan program. Those funds can be for any sort of working capital need. And if it's under $5,000, we have no collateral requirement right now. So if you guys know of anyone that may need a little bit, just with these times getting up, going, starting something new, send them my way.
Anybody else have anything like to share? Well, thank you Northwestern so much for hosting us today, and we're excited to go back to having our community coffees. Next month we will be at Windy Ford. So.